boundaries, enlightenment and transformation, Sadulu House, and Osiris Life Spiritual Services. SaduluHouse.com is the school component of our new nation, where spiritual empowerment through education and training is emphasized. One way that is accomplished is through our monthly webinars. Our webinars are packed with foundational information, rituals, and live instruction to empower your spiritual work. At SaduluHouse.com, you can view our diverse list of topics for this year that range from meditation to sex magic. And you can also register for any of the webinars at your convenience, sign up for our introductory Orisha class, schedule a spiritual reading, and sign up for the new spiritual training course. Enlightenment and transformation is the media component of our new nation. Here, you can view all of our archived shows from over the years to our current segments. They include Chief Speaks, Masterminds Monday, a new Asafo, Thunderground Thursdays, and Foundational Fridays. You can also visit us on our YouTube channels. They are Enlightenment and Transformation, Orisha Yoruba, and Our New Nation. Osiris Life Spiritual Services is for those who are ready to take the necessary actions to bring your life into holistic balance. Here we offer consistent monthly one-on-one coaching, solutions that are tailored just for you, practical hands-on self-development techniques that will accompany your monthly readings, and customized practical strategies designed for you that guarantee positive results. Simply choose the package that best fits your needs. And last but not least, AlphaOmegaStore.com. The Alpha Omega Store is our online botanica where we offer divination tools, herbs and incense, DVDs, books, and other hard-to-find ritual items. You can also get our best-selling foundational book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. Other great works from our new nation are Shrine and Altar, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships, and Natural Hair for Young Women. All great books to assist you on your journey. To find out more on how to get involved with our new nation, visit our websites and YouTube channels and be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter.
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another sunrise salutation / dawning devotional / community segment / enlightenment, aka enlightenment and transformation moment. I want to welcome all of you, those of you already in the chat room, of course. Brother Byron, good to see you this dawning. Sister Madeline, Sister Diana, Sister Yolanda, Sister Michelle, of course, as always, holding us down. And welcome everyone to this moment in this experience that we call enlightenment and transformation. Of course, speaking, I am Chief Yuya, and I trust all of you have awoken today. Those of you in the time zone that, you know, it's pretty early for you, that you've awakened in power and in strength and ready to open up these new doors that we expected to. For those of you who were able to catch yesterday's segment of Chief Speaks, then of course you know what I'm speaking about. All month we've kind of been building up, in a sense, to really this day, you know, the equinox, and really been having some discussion surrounding what it means to really get equal again, and the value of being equal, the value of equaling out, you know, beyond just our ideas of balance that a lot of times, good morning, Sister Marva, beyond the ideas of balance that we usually invest in, you know, in terms of just getting ourselves on equal plane, but actually how equality is used to open up portals and open up gateways, you know, like any other key and lock mechanism. You know, we utilize that force and that power to get through the doors that we need to get through in life. Before I begin on anything, I'm going to just give you all the call-in number. It's 515-605-9862. So as usual, if there's any audio issues, usually if one is acting up, the other one to do better. So, you know, we have a YouTube live stream going up right now, which of course some of you are on. And of course we have the Blog Talk radio stream going at the same time. So sometimes you got to bounce around a little bit, you know, if the audio is messing up a bit. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Matter of fact, let me start recording this. I have about 3 or 4 systems of redundancy going when I'm doing segments or anything really. I'm a big advocate of redundancy. In the event something doesn't record right, or there's a glitch or something, you're never at the mercy of technology. Really, you're not at the mercy of technology or someone's impression of how far you should be able to get with their technology. You know. So yeah, I got my recorder going. So yeah, you know, I just played a piece this dawning. I kind of was feeling in that zone, in that mood. So, you know, wanted to hear something else to kind of get me in the right mind, and hopefully I hope to do the same for you. And I trust in yesterday's segment we discussed the samsara, or the wheel of life, a bit, as well as dealt with the tarot and dealing with that wheel of fortune ideation, and I trust that some of you got something out of it. It seems that people are still digging through it from some of the reports that I've spoken to people on, and I tried to keep it light. At first, like I said, I was going to go heavy on the subject. I was going to do a really dense segment, but with all the technical issues happening, I just got the feeling that it wasn't about me doing that this time. So that's why I decided to go much lighter with it. All right. So, but either way, I trust that you were able to get something out of it that you could use. All right. And feel free to call in and comment on that. I'm gonna keep it light today. I know we also have some questions. While I'm talking, I'm clicking over here. I'm trying to go over to the comments. I know we had some questions that came in terms of just about yesterday's segment. So I'm going to address those in a moment, once I can smoothly get over there, all right, to go check them out. But yeah, one of the things that I wanted to stress on this day, based on the readings for the season, which I'm not going to share the full reading. It's not really necessary for most of you. And I'm going to really share the key point, the key point of the actual reading. And reciprocity is the key. The reciprocity is really what we want to focus in on during this equinox, and of course it makes so much sense, because if you really think about the equinox, is dealing with a time of equality between the push and pull forces, or between the contractive and the expansive forces. And coming out of that time of night, or coming out of that dark season, or what we like to refer to the dispensation of the winter solstice, you're dealing with a lot of contractive energy, you see. And what happens sometimes is you have people, as we spoke about yesterday, wait a second, I'm pulling up some stuff. Trying to pull up those comments while I'm talking. Okay. You have sometimes people who are stuck in certain quadrants, in certain spaces in their life, and they have a lot of trouble getting out of it. They have a lot of trouble seeing that there's a cycle, or seeing that there's a space, or that there's a heaven and hell beyond the heaven and hell that they're currently experiencing. So of course, when you bring those ideas to them, that there's a better way to do things, or there's a more expressive way that you can format or frame your life, and an expression that suits you a little bit more, or that really adds value to the world a little bit more. For some people, it's very, 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 very difficult for them to imagine that, to the point that they may even feel that you're antagonizing them with thoughts of growth, with ideas of growth, in that sense. So reciprocity is key in this season, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because coming out of the dark season and you come into the equinox, you're coming out of contraction. Okay, you're coming out of contraction to a moment of stillness, and then going into expansion. And what I wanted to speak about was the taker mentality that is so rife with those who are stuck in a space of contraction. Now, that's I do certain reading seasonally for the Elay, and I know in many houses there is like a yearly reading done in January, the Ifa reading for the year. But again, sometimes when you're coming in, and I'm not speaking against that whatsoever, but sometimes when you're coming into a place of knowing, one of the easiest things to do to try to get some of your mind back, just a little bit of it, to try to get some of your mind back, is to readjust and reframe your calendar. So you decide when your significant moments are. Sometimes just like when we look at the years and we say, BC or AD, and that within itself creates a significant moment around the supposed birth of the Christian Savior. or the supposed death of the Christian savior now becomes a significant event just in your everyday vernacular. So sometimes it's important to, look at the significant events in your own life or in your own culture, in your own community, and use those as a springboard or a benchmark for your time adjustments. So one easy way, again, to kind of get a little bit of your mind back, just a little bit, sometimes you can't get all of it, but to get a little bit of your mind back in all of this work, one easy way is just to start. I know a lot of times we start with the name, we get name changes, which is cool too. We get a name change, but one of the things that we do is we tend to adjust the clock, which is cool. So, again, dealing with the aspect of reciprocity, I want to go back onto that. And again, like I said, if you didn't get a chance to check out the show yesterday on Samsara Wheel of Life that I did, you probably should, because it will help you to understand this segment a bit more. And even, you can view and gaze at the Wheel of Fortune tarot that I spoke about, and its connection to the Hebraic letter Kaf, which again is that 11th letter. 11th always marking those gateways. So when you understand that mystical aspect of Kaf, and that Kaf is dealing with the hand deals with your potential. In our Yoruba, we have the concept of Owo, which is also the hand dealing with what we spread and what we send around. So we also use that as a terminology for money as well, Owo. Okay, now remember, when you have that O in front, you're always dealing with an exalted form of what comes after. So it's not really Owo, it's woe that you're dealing with. And then O signifies, okay, that's the cipher, that's the exaltation of whatever that is, or the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of whatever that is, or the spirit of whatever that is. Very similar to water. Omi, me meaning I. Omi is water, but it's not just water, it's the exaltation or the evolution of I is signified by water. A lot of times, like, because we're dealing with this English construct, we say this means this, that means that. And you really do yourself a disservice when you're taking indigenous languages and you say it means this or means that. Because you can say, well, it translates to this in English, but it may not necessarily mean that. It may mean something else. So, like, really, Omi and our Yoruba, there was a time when I did an initiation, and I named a young woman. I didn't name her, but the name channeled through me, Omilade. And Omilade, as many of, well, some of you may know Ade. If you ever see that name, Ade, Ade, it means like the crown. Ade, the crown. And of course, Omi is water, right? But Omilade doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, she has a crown of water, or her royalty, she's the royalty of water. Now, some may take it like that and then go off and run off into the sunset, but you're missing, if you do that, you miss a lot of the good stuff. Omilade means the serenity of water brings regality. Okay, because Omi, or water, is not necessarily just water in a sense how we would see it, but it means serenity. Okay, so when someone's even drinking water, there's an acknowledgement. Once I call it Omi, I'm drinking, or I'm taking in, I'm ingesting serenity. You see, so a lot of times, through our very two-dimensional approach of language, we miss the greater meaning. We miss what's really going on. And very similar to our Congolese form, they attack the word from 4 different angles. And I've mentioned that before, which is an amazing thing, to come at 4 different sides of a particular concept when a word is used. So let's get back to reciprocity for a moment. And good dawning to all of you in the chat room. And I see the phone lines are popping up. So good dawning to you as well, all of you. And the what I want to say, this the backing, the phone line, the party line. Good dawning to you as well. All right, but in any case, so there's a certain mentality that we take on when we're just trying to deal with life, when we're just trying to get through it. And sometimes that comes through that consistent contraction that we experience through the dark seasons of the solstice, or like we call the dark night of the soul. And it's a necessity in terms of its contraction to keep us alive, so that way we can survive and get through it. So you learn when to expend a lot of energy and when to preserve a lot of energy, or when to even be receptive and take in a lot of energy. Usually when you're dealing with your dark times or your feminine times, you're dealing with the moments when you should be more in a place of reception. You're receiving a little bit more than you might be giving, and that's perfectly fine. You're not necessarily doing anything wrong in that. But here's where it gets a little tricky for some of us if we don't know how to handle it. We put it that way. If we don't know how to handle that energy, what happens is that when you're stuck in that mode of we'll say survival, or surviving versus thriving, right? In survival mode, typically you might be functioning more from the root chakra, but again, don't blame it on the root chakra. A lot of times the root chakra gets a bad rap, an unnecessarily bad rap, because people don't really, people are looking for scapegoats. So they say, oh, yeah, you're dealing with that root chakra mentality, but it's like, it doesn't really necessarily work like that. It's not that simple. You don't have evil chakras and good chakras. But so when you're dealing with that concept of that contractive energy of survival, where you're bringing things in, you may even be hunting and gathering. A lot of times, sometimes we get stuck in that chamber, and we spoke about that yesterday when dealing with the samsara, the different chambers, the different quadrants of your development, where your Buddha or your guru nature is always looking to take you to a space where you can escape the cycle. As you see in the slides on the wheel, each one is a particular quadrant. It's a cycle of activity, and you're being pointed outside of the cycle. So again, to reiterate, a lot of times what you're going to be receiving or hearing from that guide or that instructor, because their job is only to take you out of the cycle. That's it. And so you're probably going to be hearing things that don't feel comfortable to you. They don't feel good to you to hear, because your current cycle is ruled by certain deities. And those deities, they become almost parasitical in certain forms, where they protect themselves through your nervous system. They latch on to you. So when someone says something to you like, hey, you might want to think about doing this, or you might want to think of, or they may say it the way I say, hey man, stop. Listen, just let's just cut through it. Boom, 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 boom. You might get someone like me. Now remember, by the time you get to someone like me, it's because you really have been hard-headed. I always try to remind people of that. By the time you have to talk to me, it's because you're talking to me. Your ancestors have orchestrated that meeting because you haven't been listening all this time to all of the softer nudges and pulls in certain directions. So now they present to you the thing, for the Fantastic Four, the rock man who's not going to move, okay, who's not going to take your crap and is going to see right through your BS. And it's an uncomfortable feeling, but all of this is an effort to remove you from your cycles that you may have gotten stuck in. So a lot of times, especially when we're dealing with the animal environment, we spoke about that yesterday. Again, for reference, check tomorrow. Check yesterday's show. I don't want to do yesterday's show again, but just use it as a reference. This is almost like a part 2, I guess, in a way. But when you're stuck in that animal or that bestial mode, which is necessary at times, you become very contractive. You become all about the receiving or all about the taking, as I've spoke before, that raking mentality where you rake everything to you. Now, the problem is with that, again, like I mentioned yesterday, it is through our actions that are based upon our sufferings that we create more suffering. So when you perform an action because you're suffering, you always increase the suffering or even expand it in different directions that you already had. The example I think I gave yesterday was like a jealous lover. Jealous lover does certain things to maybe lock off the sexual exclusivity or the social exclusivity of their lover. And the lover says, you know what, I can't take this. I can't be with a jealous person, and leaves them. So action that was done on behalf of their suffering now creates more suffering. Small example, but we can go through this all day. I also gave the example of certain demons that live in certain quadrants or certain realms or dimensions that we go through in life. And some of the depictions, you'll see demons with huge stomachs and small hands. And a lot of them have huge stomachs, small hands, small mouths. And, of course, a lot of times when you're looking at quote unquote primitive artwork, you may look at that and say, oh, they just didn't know how to draw hands. Hands are tough. They don't know how to draw hands. It's not that. They know how to draw it. They're making a point by animating it through when you provide image and you provide mythology and story, you get to animate the list of qualities and the list of attributes that deities or archetypes may have. So when you're able to animate it and bring it alive like that, we can grab hold of it a little better sometimes. So again, the concept, but the idea there of an entity that may have a huge stomach, small hand, small mouth is a entity that can never be satisfied, that can never be fulfilled. And some quadrants or some moments in our lives, our overlords are those entities. Big stomachs, small hands, small mouths, can never satisfy their incessant hunger. And that's what the big stomach represents. There's a lot to fill up there, but never can fill it up. So when we're in a space like that, which many of us have been in, many of us have been in, we're in that space of consistent and perpetual contraction. All we see is what we should have, and all we see is our immediate need. I'll give you an example. Sometimes, and this happened not too long ago in the chat room, right? We were having a good session, and the brother apologized. I think I know who it was too, so it wasn't a big deal or anything, but it's worth mentioning, And he's a brother, so he could take it. I'm gonna throw the criticism out there, I think it was a show we did with Leah, and where we were just talking about male-female relations. Good show. We were vibing. Everybody was listening, and the chat room was popping. And we were, people were getting a lot of value out of the conversation that day and even after that, but just a lot of value and a lot of good energy. And then he came in and asked about an Olokun initiation, just like didn't even greet the room. Like, yo, $2,000 for Olokun initiation. What's up? And I saw it immediately, and I had a very guttural reaction. I was just like, yo, what are you doing? And I deleted. I was like, come on, man, get out of here with that. And I mean, I probably could have came out a little bit better, but guy, he and he was like, all right, my bad. Sorry about that. But see, that's an example of, again, and brother, I'm not trying to mash on you, anything like that, but you're a man, you could take it. We have to sharpen each other. That's an example of that contractive taking mentality. You see, where there's a certain thing going on in the space, and what happens is that when people have that, now I know he probably wasn't even listening to the show, so I'm using this as a very loose example. I'm sure he has a very defendable space. He might have just jumped in the middle and was like, yo, boom, and wasn't even listening, which is also an example of that. But a lot of times when we're stuck in that contractive space, we don't want to see anyone else receive value. We don't want to see anyone else receive energy for anything. A lot of times we might be around close friends or family members, and they start to see us ascend into a certain place. They start to see us elevate and escalate our awareness and our vibration. And before we get there, they'll give us something that'll take us completely left. Like we may be in a space where we're doing rituals, we're lighting candles, we're making an oil, or we're just doing something that we really enjoy. They'll come out of left field, and say something like, hey, did you ever call the power company about that refund we supposed to get? Nah, they said they was gonna call us back. Yeah, but you should call them. You know what I'm saying? Because you know they'll tell you they call you back. They won't call you back. You know, they'll completely take you to left on purpose when they feel you're getting value. Or sometimes it happens in an environment like it could be like a show like this. We're moving, we're in a nice direction, we're going somewhere, and what they'll do is someone will call in and ask a question completely in left field. I don't know what today's show is about, but I got a question. You see, they're so obsessed around their need. They're so obsessed about their desire to contract, to pull in, to pull in, to pull in, to pull in, that they don't want to see anyone else get any value from the collective moment. You see, so they'll find ways to derail it. Or you'll get those callers who will call in when the energy is high and they'll start rambling. Now, I know what they're doing. It's not just that they're poor communicators. They're purposely trying to drain the energy and the life out of the moment. They're trying to take, they wait till it gets to a crescendo, till it gets to this high moment. Then they'll call in, so, how do I want to say this? Let me, well, you could have thought about that before you got on the phone. And then what they're doing is they're playing off of your decency. And that's the decency where you won't say, you know what, call back when you get this right and hang up on them. Now, I would do that, because I understand the demon that's at play there. It sounds innocent. Oh, they're just having trouble getting their thought. That's not what it is. You have to be able to hear the voice under the voice. And sometimes a person may speak and you hear 7 or 8 voices under them. You realize, no, this isn't the human. You're not stuck in the human quadrant. You're living in the realm of the hungry ghost, the land of the hungry ghost. That's the preta. You're still functioning out of that preta mentality. Again, reference yesterday's segment. You'll know what I'm talking about. So the reciprocity, what it calls and what it invites us to do, and it's time, is to give more than we're getting. Because remember, after the equinox, when we start to move into the solstice, we move into a time where light overcomes the dark. So you have an abundance of expansive energy more so than contractive energy. The light energy is expansive or masculine or giving, and the feminine energy is contractive, and receiving and magnetic. And there's an interplay between the two of them that we have to kind of play with. But many in this world are stuck in that dark night of the soul, where all they can see is their survival coping mechanisms. And in order to survive and to cope, they take and they receive and they receive and they receive and they receive, and they can't get themselves out of that place of reception. 401, you're on Sunrise Salutation. 401, you're on Sunrise Salutation.
Please, I'm sorry. My daughter had pushed the number 1. I apologize.
Oh, okay. It was an accident?
Yes, it is.
All right. Okay. All right. Peace. Okay, cool. That's a good breakup. No problem. That gave me a chance to breathe. So give thanks for your daughter. But yeah, so again, the reciprocal aspect. Now, remember, when you're dealing with the concept of reciprocity, you're not necessarily dealing with the concept of I give you exactly what you give me, because it's impossible to ever give someone what they give you, because of the passage of time. As time changes, all elements change along with it. Time is mutable, like everything else. Time transforms like everything else on the planet. So we try to look at time as like this static constant, but that doesn't make sense if you really understand that time is a dimension, and dimensions morph and change based on the inhabitants of said dimensions. So time morphs. So as time is morphing, the value of whatever sits inside of those dimensions actually morphs along with it. So if you give me a flower and I give you a flower back, it's not even if it's the same flower, it's not the same flower. It's matured, it's aged. Even if it's aged by 1 second or 2 seconds, it's still a different flower. You see, so that idea of reciprocity being an exchange of sameness doesn't actually doesn't really hold water, when you really kind of work with it. But again, the contractive energy of the survival mechanism, or the coping mechanism of the survival mechanism, what it causes one to do is to live in a world of consistent ingratitude. And through their ingratitude, they're able to receive more from the world until they get a spark, or they send out a spark of gratitude, which has never really actually happened. So, for example, I'll use this show. I could use this show as all the examples. There are sometimes when a person will call in, right? And I've seen this on like the end of the month student panels, right? A person will call in with a question. Usually, sometimes it's not even a complicated question. And every student will go around. There might be 5 people on the line. Will take turns answering, giving their perspective on the answer for the person. And at the end of all of that, the person will do something like, okay, well, I guess, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I guess I really got to figure it out, because I'm just trying to figure out what to do. You see, to play them out like that. Those are the times when I'm listening in, when I'm not on the line, and when I have to hold myself back from calling in. What the F is wrong with you? Because I don't like to see people used like that. I don't like to see people disregarded, like that. But, again, not that you take it personally or anything like that. It's just, again, the Papa Bear sometimes comes out on me. But I know the taker mentality. I know someone who's stuck in survival mode. They're stuck in coping mode. So they're constantly pulling little antics and little moves in order to steal energy from people. So if they were to actually show gratitude, then they feel like, okay, well, the offerings are going to stop. As long as I sit here and stay whiny, or stay like, you're not giving me enough, even though you're not required to give me anything. But as long as I stay in that space, then they feel that they're going to keep more. And remember, that's an action that's based off of suffering. Because when you're in that coping mode of survival, you're suffering because you're being patient through your hard times. And patience only comes through suffering. Even a little bit of suffering. Mommy, I'm hungry. What's for dinner? Wait. When's dinner gonna be? It'll be done later. 5 minutes. Go wash your hands. Even for that 5 minutes, it's like, oh my God, I hate her. No, it may not be that extreme, but but nonetheless, in order to receive the gift of patience, you have to go through the fire of suffering. You can't get around it. That's just the way. That's the way the law works, the cosmic law. So you have people again who are stuck in that mode of survival coping. They're stuck in that space. They're stuck in that quadrant, and they don't realize that the way you get out of that is by giving. That's the way you get out of the survival space. Because again, think about what's after the root chakra, the sacral chakra. And we spoke about that. If you check out the show that I did, I don't know, 2 Strongs ago, whatever. I don't know. The show on motherhood. Remember, I did that whole, it was like 3-4 days on the sacred connection between a child's navel or solar chakra and the mother's sacral chakra, and how the mother feeds love directly from her sacral chakra into the child's navel chakra, giving them a proper sense of identity. I don't remember the dates. Maybe someone can put it in the chat or whatever. You guys know I'm not real good. See, the thing is, once I do the segments, I don't go back and listen to them. So maybe like only once in a while, when someone will ask me a question and I have to reference a segment, then I may go back and listen to it. But even then, I'm just scanning through it. I don't really, I'm not interested. So a lot of times I don't remember the dates and whatnot, because once I do them, I'm on to the next thing. I usually have about 30 things to do per day. So this is just one of them. And then I get on to the next thing. So yeah, but in there somewhere, I spoke about that actual connection, that exchange that happens, and how after that 4th trimester, as I called it, or the quadmester, when the child actually comes out and that umbilical cord is cut, there's an energetic connection of reciprocity that needs to be maintained and nurtured by father and mother, but primarily by mother, because that's who's delivering that conceptuation of love. And when, of course, she doesn't do that, we get a child that's stuck in a taker mentality because they see their power through taking. But it's usually it's a duplicitous kind of taking, because again, there's an imbalance in the solar chakra. And once you have an imbalance in your solar chakra, you never even know who you are, where you are. You're completely off. You can't map anything. Once there's an imbalance in the solar chakra, you can't map anything, because that's what gives you the projection of your personal identity out in the world. It tells you your place, just like the sun, or just like a Leo energy. Leos are just, they come in the room, it's all about me. But they're very clear when it's all about them, even when it's actually not really all about them. They'll make it all about them, but we all have that potential within us to be that, and we need it. It's necessary at times, because someone has to pull away from the herd to do the great work. Everyone can't roll with the flock and keep doing the same things that everyone else is doing. So again, based on readings that I performed, that's the energy that we need to really try to start to work on, try to project that value out into the world. Because like I said, the way you break free of that cycle when you're going from root to sacral, the sacral is all about the extension of the true self. Like it said, even in our Hindi structure, it's not till you get to the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is considered to be the seat of the I, or the seat of the self, or the seat of one's true identity. So your true identity is projected and found through the sacral chakra. Now, one of the reasons is because that's where you're bringing ancestors back through. I've said it many times for those who've come to me and they talk about all the Orisha and, oh, Baba, can you initiate me? Can you initiate me? And I always will talk to them about, well, tell me something about your ancestors. I don't really know about it. Then I don't know you. That's how we know you. If we don't know who your Egun are, we don't know you. You're a stranger. So you can't just now skip over that step and co-opt an Orisha's identity because you have a book of Orisha mythology. You read some stories on some Orisha and you say, oh, I like this. This is cool. Yeah, I want, you're reading comic books basically. And you say, okay, can you give me superpowers so I can be this particular superhero? Nah, we don't know you. We don't know. We can't bring you into the fold. We don't know you. How do we know you? Well, we got to know about your ancestral energy. And you don't know you. So that seat of identification comes through the exchange that the mother gives to the sacral chakra. Oyeku, Oyeyeiku, right? Sacred Odu, calling forth the mothers of death. Because primarily, and I'm not going to get into this too much because I think this is above this show's pay grade, but primarily when you're dealing with ancestral work, you're mainly talking to women. That's why the women come through so easy when you're doing ancestral work. That's why we dealt with matrilineal systems. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to go into that too much. I don't, some things I don't like to give publicly. It feels like some conversations should be fireside chats. It would be like me teaching someone how to put a condom on in this show. It doesn't. That's something you do person to person. Some things are more sacred. They're not meant for the digital airwaves. But in any event, the idea of the contractive personality or the taker mentality, it finds its rooting and it finds its strength through ingratitude. That's how it stays strong. So it knows that if it starts to give gratitude or give value out into the world, then it will slowly dissolve. It will slowly disintegrate. So it does everything it can not to say thank you. It has all kind of maneuvers not to show thanks for things. These are the people who they're even tricky about sometimes how they take from you. Because they don't want you, these are the people who will say things like this. The loaded questions like, oh, hey, what are you doing Tuesday? Oh, nothing much. It's my day off. Oh, good. You can go with me down to the Piggly Wiggly market. I got to go down there and pick up some things. You can go with me. Well, that's a loaded question. That's a real sneaky, devilish kind of question. It was loaded. And you're not really asking me to go. And if I do go, you're not really going to thank me for going because number one, you didn't ask me. But number two, you're going to say, well, you weren't doing anything anyway. You weren't doing anything today. So, I mean, practically, I kind of got you out of the house. I did you a favor. You see, it's all these little slick, duplicitous ways. Or, you know, for those of you who do sessions with clients, you may have gone through this. You'll do a session with a client. Maybe it's supposed to be a 45-minute session. You're on the phone with them, or you're sitting with them for 2 hours. They don't even have the wherewithal to say, oh, thank you so much for this extra time, to show honest gratitude. Because they'll say, well, I paid you. You got paid. You know, they know deep down within themselves that you gave to them. But if they show that level of gratitude, now what happens is they start to receive back from the environment, or from the Akashic energy. They start to receive back gratitude. They start to receive gifts back. And they don't want it that way. They want it all from the root. They want it all from flesh. They want it all from physical humanity. They really don't want the universe to give them anything. So even when they're in a situation when the universe does, they make sure not to show gratitude. They make sure. You've probably had this experience at times when you've gone to different places and you've introduced yourself, you know, or here's an easy one. I always joke about this when I'm driving up and down the turnpike, up and down 95 and up and down the highways, basically going from the northeast coast to the southeast coast. When you go through the toll booths, you pretty much know where you are just by the toll booths. You know, if anyone's familiar with this, you know, as soon as you hit the George Washington Bridge, that means you're going into New York City now. It's like you go to the toll booth and, you know, like dudes be in there rapping, you know what I mean? Music blasting, won't even look at you. You know, you sitting out there, he in there dancing and throwing guns up in the air and everything, yelling to the other guy in the toll booth across from, yo, you know, yelling over your car. You just got to sit and wait. And you can say, hey, what's up? How you doing? He just like, he didn't even see you, you know, and throw your change back in the car. You know, now when you go, the further south you go, slowly, the more that change. You get to the bottom of the New Jersey Turnpike going into, coming out of New Jersey, you'd be going into Pennsylvania or Delaware, right? And you pull up to the toll booth and they're like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, all right, take care. And then you go a little further down. It's like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's all right. Things are cool here. Yeah. Now they want to talk, you see? So now that's the difference between someone who's in survival mode and someone who's in thriving mode. When you're in thriving mode, not only do you have enough ashe or chi or energy to absorb within yourself, but you have enough to even be authentically concerned about the next person. So you'll say like, hey, how's it going? And you really are waiting for the answer. You really mean it, as opposed to, you know, you see somebody, hey, what's up? And it kind of, it levels out there, it dies out there. Hey, sometimes it's just a grunt, or, you know, all right, we see each other, all right. That's the end of it, because I'm in survival mode right now, right? I don't have energy to give you a, hey, how you doing? Because a, hey, how you doing? Or how's it going? It's not so much for you. Because sometimes you ask a person that, they don't even really give you an answer. You know what I mean? Like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? They'll respond with the question. That's part of the sickness of our Western culture. You know, we don't really listen to people. So we're used to people not really caring, right? So like I always stop people. I say, wait a minute, you answered me with a question. No, how are you doing? You know, I do that all the time when talking to people. And, you know, and it'll kind of shock them for a moment. They'll say, oh, I'm sorry. You know, I'm just so used to people just kind of asking and not listening for the answer. You know, and it opens up dialogue a lot of times. But when you're saying, hey, how are you doing? How is everything? Are you fine? Are you okay? It's really more of a statement on your current state of well-being, more so than the barometer and the read that you're trying to get on their state of well-being. You see, because you're saying in that moment, I have enough energy now to extend something outward to you, to extend a good vibe out to you, and I'm receiving back and sending back out what I'm getting from the environment. What I'm getting from the vital forces that are around me. I have enough to send that back outward to you. So, hey, how are you doing? How's it going? Now you find people who are stuck in that thriving, or that not thriving, excuse me, that survival mentality, that they never ask that question authentically. And when they do, it's very robotic. And usually because you've mentioned it to them before, like, you never asked me how I'm doing. And then next time they see you, how are you doing? How is it? Everything's fine. What you do today? Okay. Look, the reason I called you is, it'll go right into it like that, because it's not really authentic. You see, they're not really honest with it, because in their mind, I don't have enough energy to give you. I don't have enough extra chi to give you to really be concerned about you. I am in total contraction mode. So in contraction mode, I'm just here to take, and you should just be giving it to me. And what happens is that the more you give to an individual like that, the more they desire. Remember, small mouths, small hands, big stomachs. They can never be fulfilled. And what happens is, the more you give, the more they resent you, because you're not giving them enough. So it gives them more fuel to say, this is why I'm ungrateful. This is why I don't say thank you. You want me to say thank you for this? You want me to thank you for this? You didn't even give me this, that. Because they're in that total place of, they think need of control. That's what I said. You'll do a segment. The energy is high. You're talking, you're teaching, you're going. People are like, wow, thank you. They're getting it. Someone comes out of left field and just asks a ridiculous question, like, hey, I'm just calling. And then they'll do it real slow so that they can. It's I don't want to call it witchcraft, but it's a form of, because that would be a disrespect to witchcraft, but it's demon craft. Or wicked craft. That's a better way to put it. Because demons are cool too. I'm good with demons. I'm good with evil people. But wicked people are something different. It's wicked craft. They'll slow things down. Like, you see the tempo I'm speaking right now. And you guys have heard me on shows do that before. Probably thought I was being mean. Somebody will call and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Why are you talking so slow? Come on, man, pick it up. It's because I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to suck all the life out of the moment. They're trying to take all of your energy, because they see they can feel everyone is on a crescendo. Like, wow, thank you. And all of the neurons are connecting inside of someone. You're firing off those synapses in people's mind, and they sense that, and they say, okay, perfect time for me to jump in. It's like when you got girls outside playing double dutch, and the boys wait, right? Boys can be so evil. They'll wait right until, like, the girls really get a groove on, like, and they're doing their little chant, yeah, da 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 da, and all that little stuff. And then what do the boys do? They run through the rope. Now they know they could easily go around the rope, but they run through the rope. Now, of course, they do that playing around, but think about how many people do that in your waking life. Right? You trying to do something, you're trying to get something done, and it could be the simplest thing. I've done this so many times. Sometimes I'm talking to a person, right? Plenty of room. And a person could go around, because obviously you can see this is a session, important session. This used to happen when I worked in education. I'd be talking to a young person. We're in the hallway, and a teacher could easily keep your mouth shut, and the hallway is huge. You got to walk right next. Yeah, what's going on with this one today? Get the F out of here. We're talking. And that's because I was a principal. So that's honestly how I used to talk. You go to your class, man. We're talking. I would talk to him just like that, which is one of the reasons why I'm no longer a principal. But yeah, I couldn't take, because I can't be in these environments, so I have to filter so much anymore. I got youth coming in here who are demonically possessed, and I can't say anything about it. I can't do this, man. This is, so I did some other things. But the point I'm saying to you is that when you have individuals like that who are seeking to absorb and extract value from the environment, they will I don't want to say purpose, kind of go out of their way to disrupt your moments of thriving. You see, when they could easily sidestep it, but because they're in coping mode, they're in survival mode, they almost don't even see you. They don't even see what you're doing. They don't even see the sacredness or the importance of what it is that you're trying to get done. 814, you're on community. Whoa. 814?
Peace, Chief. How you doing?
Peace, I'm good. How are you?
I'm here, brother. I'm in thriving and surviving mode.
Oh, you're in a messed up spot.
Yeah. Hey, nah, I'm just tuning in. It's been a minute. I was just chiming in to see what the topic was, but I can definitely relate to what you said, because as a father, when I'm talking to my daughters, I don't particularly, because they're young, 5 and 2, and they do a lot of things. I don't kind of let them get away with things, but I don't want them to feel like that's all dad do is beat me for if I do something wrong. So I kind of spoil them. Actually, I don't kind of spoil them. I do spoil them. But when I'm talking to them, trying to give them a jewel, their mother will chime in and like, see, that's the reason why, you know what I mean? And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. This is my time to explain and produce some fruit within my children. So, you should be over here because you're the lioness and you'll destroy them for walking up the stairs wrong. You know how women are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I feel like that interferes with, what I'm trying to do as a man with having his daughter's relationship. I'm like, I want to talk to them, explain to them, like, because, daughters be like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why? They'll just say it 10 times in a row. Right. And I'll just say things off the wall just to go along with the flow. But a lot of times their mother will get frustrated with that and be like, man, just be quiet. And I'm like, wait a minute, this shouldn't be bothering you. But that's definitely what you're saying, and people will jump into that moment that you're having or sharing with somebody. And I definitely can relate to that. However, though, I know I haven't been calling in a while, but I don't know if you even went over this in some past subjects. But this has been a question that's been on my mind.
We ain't dealing with that. You about to take us down the wrong road. I feel it coming. We about to talk about something that we don't even want to talk about right now. This is what I'm gonna say to you. Talk to the mother. Don't talk to the daughter. Yeah, you ain't doing that to us, man. I see what you're getting ready to do. No, man, we sailing right now.
No, bro.
You about to crash us into Skull Island
with the mother or anything.
No, but that's an important point. What I'm saying is this, because you about to take us into King Kong Skull Island. We don't want to go to Skull Island. We on this. What I'm saying is, talk to the mother.
I'll save it for another time, brother. But go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. Talk to the mother. Don't talk to the daughter. You see what I'm saying? Because you got to remember the way energy flows. It flows from you to the mother to the child. You see, so you're skipping 90 seconds. We're going into archives, everyone. So you're skipping a step, and that's why if you don't get her in alignment with the program, because really she's supposed to disseminate that energy or that information to the daughter. So you cutting her out of the deal, she's always going to rebel because you're cutting her out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that perspective.
Okay. Yeah, man, go through the mother.
60 seconds.
60 seconds, everyone. Go through the mother. That's how you have to do that, man. That's how the information is disseminated. Now, I already know what you're thinking in the back. You probably have already tried that. You probably tried to get her on board, so forth and so on. But that's where you need to focus and concentrate your efforts. Because ultimately, no matter what you're sitting there teaching your daughter, she has the potential to model everything that her mother's doing anyway. That's her divine right as a daughter to say, you know what, thanks, Pop.
Right.
I appreciate this and everything, but nah, I'm gonna do the mommy thing because it just feels more natural because that is my mother. So
exactly.
Yeah, so it's like professional development. You can work with the students, or you can work with the teachers who work with the students, which is what I am eventually going to do. 10 seconds. You got to perform professional development. Work with the teacher who works with the student. Your lady, I don't know if you two are still together. You two still together?
Yeah.
Okay, so work with she's a teacher. Child is a student. Work with the teacher, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, because you're going to get frustrated. Everything you're trying to do is going to get unraveled.
It's definitely, you definitely hitting on some points. It's definitely frustrating, especially since I've come into the ancient knowledge, and I'm still dealing with the Christian school of thought, brother. It's hard to be outside of the box.
Well, who's dealing
that road?
Who's dealing with the Christian school
so she
of
thinks
thought?
that everything that I say is going to
Let me ask you this. Hold on. Who's dealing with the Christian school of thought?
The mother.
Okay, so the mother. Do you know that school of thought?
Oh yes, sir. I've been outside of that school of thoughts for quite some time, and I've been on this path right here.
Okay, I'm gonna show you what you're gonna have to do.
Over 20 years.
I remember since you were around 80 something. I remember the conversation.
Yeah, brother.
So,
not here.
Yeah, I know who this is. Erie, Pennsylvania. Erie, Pennsylvania. I know who you are. Yeah. So
yes, sir. You got a heck of a memory, brother.
You got to in my line of work, man. You can't forget nothing because people try to use stuff. So what I'm saying, this is what you're gonna have to do, man. You're gonna have to go back to hell in order to save your family. So what that means is you're gonna have to go back down through that Christian theology in order to rescue your wife back out of that, man. Because the truth is, what you're trying to do with your daughter is right in the scriptures. In terms of you being that head, in terms of you being that lead, it's right there in the scriptures. So, I mean, I know it almost sounds dubious, but you have to take that information and almost use it against her and say, wait a minute, this, you interrupting. No, this is not, let's look at your book. What does your book say about it? So you basically have to go and slay the God of her religion. By showing that I'm
on mute because you breaking up.
Okay, I thought that was you breaking up. That's me? Okay. All right, no problem. Yeah, I'm gonna mute your line on my end. I thought that was me. I thought that was him. That was him. All right, I just muted him. All right, but anyway, brother, like I was saying, you gotta go and slay the God of her religion. And you do that by becoming infinitely more wiser and infinitely more intelligent than that particular archetype. Because, and I'm not talking about Jehovah, because that's not the God that she's working with. You can already tell, because if it was, you wouldn't be having the problems that you're having in terms of her being disruptive or trying to take value away from that father-daughter relationship. That's essentially what's happening, because now you're dealing, like you said, you're dealing with some real truths here, some stronger indigenous truths. She doesn't have that. So there's probably some jealousy that's going on. You're able to have a more healthy and a more expansive type of experience with your daughter. And like you said, because I know daughters, it's always with the why. But why this and why that? Well, they'll wake up with the why. You talk to them at night, they go to bed, they wake up the next day. Why are they brushing their teeth? So wait a minute. So you mean to tell me, you got to keep going. But the thing is, when you're dealing with a deeper level of information, you can answer more of those questions. Someone who's dealing with robotic religion, they don't have any answers. So after a while, they see you and it's like, dag, like he's got an answer for everything. And, they start to feel like, well, that takes away value from me. Because a lot of times people don't know their particular role. They don't understand that, no, Pop's always got to have an answer because that's the man's job. How else could he lead and guide his family if he didn't always have the answer for where to lead and guide his family to? But some people don't understand that. But that's in her book. So what I'm saying is, in order for you to save them, you got to go back to hell. What is hell? Going back into that book. That place we don't like to go, and man, I don't open that crap. And we may study it, but sometimes we study it for the purposes of proving our point. But you will have to study and look at the father. I'm sorry, not the father, but look at the marital relationships that are espoused in that. Read about the virtuous woman. Study those scriptures and learn them from different angles. So you don't want to just really take things out of context in order to prove a point, but you are kind of proving a point. Because I know just in the problem that you described right there, that's against Bible scripture to do something like that based on what you described. Now, there's always three sides to every story, but just on with the little bit that I heard, you have a defense there, but you got to go back to hell to save them. Sometimes you got to do that, man. Sometimes you got to go back to the plantation to get those who are left behind. And that may mean that you may have to go back there and imposter as an enslaved person. You may have to pretend for a little while just to snatch them up out of there, you know. So that's kind of the situation you're in. But anyway, we're gonna close out in a minute, but I want to just kind of give you what we were speaking about in terms of the roundup. You know, we were speaking about the value of reciprocity. Okay, the value of reciprocity, and one of the things that you have to utilize in order to be able to maintain your value, still give value out into the world, and not be a victim of those with a taking mentality, is you got to know you have to know your boundaries. You have to have a clear sense of your personal boundaries, because your personal boundaries become your truce points. Just like the brother who just called in, you know, you come to a point where, you know, and that was a good example. Little side note, he was like, man, you got a hell of a memory. I remember all of y'all. Sometimes I play like I don't, because I don't want to embarrass you. You know, I'll pretend like sometimes what you're saying to me is the first time I'm hearing it. You know, but I remember all of you. I remember all of your stories. I remember all of your situations. Half of you, I remember your phone numbers. Okay, now that's just something that you get after a while when you're working with deeper levels of information. In fact, one of my early instructors, he used to put me through these different rituals to increase my memory. And I mean, it was these different herbs we'd have to use and all this stuff we had to make. And at the time, I wasn't really, you know, I'm like, I ain't got no problem with my memory. I don't care nothing about this, you know, like, but as a humble student, you do what you're supposed to do. So, but I mean, I've always had a pretty sharp memory, but it probably has become mutant-like because of the amount of rituals that I've done. And I guess he saw something in me, because he used to say the same thing, like, Haru, man, you don't forget anything, you know, so then why are we doing these doggone rituals? But obviously he saw something that I didn't see at the time, you know, maybe that memory was going to become a necessary thing, you know. So and I'm thinking about him as I'm talking, because he was an instructor. He was one of the first ones to tell me about giving. You know, he used to always say that, yeah, you got to just give. You got to give. You got to give. Not much explanation, because his English wasn't really that tight, but you got to give. So, okay, you know, I'll keep giving. You know, he would always say, yeah, you're very giving. And sometimes he would see me get burnt. And, you know, I'd come to him for advice and be like, okay, I did this, I did that. And, you know, this happened, or the person burnt me, or whatever. Like, you know, what do you do in those situations? And he'd just be like, oh, Ru, you just have to give. You have to keep giving. Just give. I'm like, all right, thanks, Bob. I appreciate it, you know. But so the thing is, when you're able to establish those personal boundaries and those truce points, a lot of times, like what the brother just called, when he's able to clearly define within his family environment the relationship between he and his wife and his daughter, you know, the in terms of his role, his gender role, and the child's role, and the age role, it creates what we call truce points. So for instance, let's say as a man, you know, your wife's cooking something that you don't like, that you don't feel is healthy. Let's say maybe she's I don't know, making some quinoa, or you know, or something that just requires water, and she's using tap water, and you're like, you know what, that's why I bought this alkaline machine, you know, use the alkaline water to make the thing. And she might be like, oh, I forgot, man, get off my case. You know, now you could sit there and you could try to riff about it, but at some point you got to say, you know what, I'm crossing the line now, because as a woman, you know, she's the one that has milk coming out of her breast. You know, I don't even know why I have nipples, you know, so she's always provided nourishment from day one. So who am I, the one who can't, I mean, aside from the sperm that fertilizes, who am I to come in here now and encroach upon her nourishment, her alchemical activities, even if she's doing something that I don't particularly agree with? So you have to almost call a truce, but having a clear perception of those gender boundaries allow you to call sensible truces. You know, say, well, you know what? All right, this is just, you know, I don't like it, but I can't do anything about it. I could, but I can't. You see, and we've lost a lot of that respect for one another, sadly. Not only in a gender case, I'm using that as an example, but even person to person. Just like the brother called in, you know, and I'm joking with him and everything. No, you're gonna take us on Skull Island, but he knows he can call in anytime. We'll go to the next whatever question he had, but I'm respecting my own personal boundaries of what it is that I'm here to do. There was a time, even in my spiritual work, and I'm giving this as guidance for those of you who are on that path. You don't have to fix everything with everybody. And people with a taker's mentality, like, see, that brother doesn't, hey, he was just like, all right, man, we do it another day. All right, go ahead, man. Like, stop with the joke. Let's just go. But a person with a taker's mentality wouldn't have been able to move past that point. They would have gotten stuck. They would have played victim. All right, well, okay, fine, okay. They would have started doing that as if they were being beat. You start to see the little clues there. But understanding your personal boundaries, you could say, listen, this is what I'm here to do. This is what I'm not here to do. Like, I'm here to give information on the solstice today. That's what it is. We're not going all over the place, you see. And you have to have that in your life in general. When you have that sense of personal boundary and you've established the contours of your own personal limits and you're not allowing someone else to establish those contours for you, then it becomes much easier to spot the taking mentality and to know when you've gone beyond the point of adding value into the world and you're just basically hoeing yourself out. So when you're hoeing, and there's nothing wrong with hoeing, but make sure you hoeing to a pimp that is giving you some good game that you could respect. But if you just hoeing yourself out to anybody who comes along on the street, then you're going to get all used up. And sometimes you see that in the physical too, but we're not going to talk about pimping and hoeing. That's another conversation that we will not have. But my point is, you have to understand where your boundaries lie at. So that sense of reciprocity, when you're giving too much or you're giving too little, but especially you'll know when you're stuck in contraction or when you're stuck in expansion, where you just give. And sometimes you give because you don't want the disappointment of possibly not receiving. You see, so you have to learn to receive. And sometimes what you receive comes in a form that is so unlikely or so unexpected that it becomes difficult to keep. Like I'll tell you this, in terms of giving, I give more for free than I do, in terms of services and products, right? Services and products, there's only a few things, right, that we actually have. I haven't even released phase 2 and 3 of the spiritual training, right? But at minimal, I'm now, because I'm holding down the community shows for a little while. I'm on here an hour at minimal, usually sometimes more, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's already been longer than an hour this morning, every day, right? Except for Saturdays. So that's 6 hours of instruction, right? Including Chief Speaks, but every strong. And like I said, some shows 2 hours. Sometimes we're on for 3 hours, right? All for free. Good instruction. Like, I don't say, oh, because it's the free segments, I'm just going to slap something together, or I'm just going to play music for an hour or just mumble mouth through it. No, I make sure, okay, I'm going to give them some nutrition. Now, let's say if that represents 100% output, 100% effort, right? Now, I may only get back 10% of what I actually, and that's about right. I may only get back about 10% of what I give out. You see, so let's say if normally I would charge $100, let's say for to talk to me for 1 hour, but I do it for free. Someone may give me $10. Okay, so just to put it in easier terms to understand, right? Someone say, okay, I'm gonna donate $10. So for what I normally would have gotten 100 for, I'm getting $10 for. But this is how it works, though. So you understand the reciprocal value that we're gonna tap into on this solstice. If I was to say, no, give me my 100, give me my 100, give me my 100, every time I open up my mouth, right? I'll get the 100, but because I'm in contracted form, I'm expected to pull that 100 deep back into the abyss. So there's no cycle of reciprocity that's going on because the universe is expecting me to just pull. Brother Byron says, as much as 10%, Chief. Yeah, well, I'm using those numbers to make it easier. But yeah, actually it's not 10%, but to make it easier. But so the universe says, okay, you want that 100, we're going to give you that 100. And you always going to have that 100. It's like the person who's stingy with their car, for instance. It's an example. No, you can't borrow my car. Don't touch my car. Don't sit on my car. You'll find that they'll have that car for 20, 30 years. You see, what you're covetous of, in that sense, you're always going to have, in a sense, because nothing is forever, right? But let's say now, if I'm not, give me my 100, give me my 100, give me my 100, right? And I say, okay, I'm going to give for free. I'm going to give for free. I'm going to give for free. What happens is, because I'm stimulating that cycle of reciprocity, that $10 that I would have received, or that I received once, I receive more than once, because it's a consistent cycle. So I'm giving for free often, but what happens is I'm getting more $10. So I may get now $110. So now I'm sitting on top of $1,000. You see, now one might say, yeah, but you've given more than $1,000 of effort. Absolutely. But what happens is, because I'm sending that value out, it becomes perpetual. You know, it's like once you start spinning that top, it becomes a perpetual spin. So that's almost like what they call passive income. So after a while, I don't really have to do as much. You see, if I so choose, right? I'm using that as a very rough and cursory example. Of course, we could probably punch holes in that and play around with it. But there is a strong truism to it, okay? In terms of your giving, you know, a lot of times you may give 100, but you may not get back 100 in one lump. Don't look for it that way. You may get back $10, $5, $20. Someone lets you cut them in line at the supermarket, or you know. I have this brother. I used to always, at the Whole Foods near me, every time I would see him, I would, you know, just say peace to him, just because big black man. He looked like me with braids. So, you know, anytime I see a brother like it's in that environment, hey, peace, you know. And what he used to do, he started doing this, like when I would come through, you know, he would always walk over to me, you know, and he would look at what I had, and he said, "That's what you want? That's what you want?" Yeah, yeah. And I remember the first time he did, I'm like, "What are you, security?" You know. And he worked in the produce section, and he pulled out these sample stickers, and he stuck them on like half of my stuff. So with the sample stickers, I don't know if any of you have ever seen this, because you know, Whole Food secrets. They give you the in Whole Food markets, for those you know, I forgot, because they don't have those all over. It's basically like a organic or natural food market. If they have the sample sticker on it, you get it for free, and it could be a big bottle or something. It doesn't matter. You get it for free. So he would do that every time I come in. He'd give me like 3 or 4 sample stickers. Now, when I came in, I was always adding or attempting to add value to his day, just by saying, "Yo, peace, bro. What's good?" You know, I might, as soon as I hit the door, I would see him in produce, because it's right there in the front. I would go to him and meet him. "Hey, what's happening, bro? How you doing today?" "All right." You know, always trying to give him something, whether it's assurance or that black brother soul power, you know, connection for a moment. And as a result, he reciprocated. Now, what happened later, tell you something interesting. I saw him in the library one day, and he had all these IT books. And I was like, "Oh, you're into IT?" He was like, "Yeah, man, I'm getting ready to take," there was a certification, getting ready to take my certification test, man. You know, I'm trying to get out of that gig. And I actually helped him. I was like, "Yeah, well, you know, believe it or not, I actually teach this particular, or I used to teach this particular certification." So we met a couple of times in the library. I gave him some tutoring. He passed the certification. He now works in IT. You know, I haven't seen him, and I haven't seen him in years, but I'm assuming he's probably doing all right. You know, but the point I'm making again is how the exchange goes, the constant exchange, the back and forth, and it starts with you coming into a space and having enough chi, because you're outside of survival mode. You're in thriving mode. You got enough chi to send some value out into the world, and not always looking to rake in or contract value from everyone else. And you can always tell when someone's trying to contract your value, when you can feel your personal boundaries encroached upon, you see. And when we have that egoic need to be everyone's savior, we allow it. You know, so even sometimes in your spiritual work, you'll have those clients that, you know, let's say it's an hour session, it's an hour and a half, they still talking. "All right, one more question." They're not even saying, "Listen, I'm sorry, I know we're over. You know, hey, I'll send you something extra." Or they'll just, one more question. completely thrashing like Wolverine, thrashing and slicing against your personal boundaries. And you can feel it, but you don't have enough chi or enough sense of well-being or thriving inside of you to say, hold on, wait a minute, hold on. This is my time now, man. You know, we got to stop. You got enough, beat it. Or just get another session another time. Or maybe I don't ever even want to talk to you again because I see you don't really respect me anyway, so just go to somebody else. You know, when you come out of that deficit mindset, you'll be able to see things like that and say that. So in this season, give value. Focus on the principles of reciprocity. For those of you who own my book, The 14 Keys, review that section on reciprocity and how it relates to even our community building when we deal with the Nguzo Saba. Okay, learn everything that I'm saying in that particular section, in that particular chapter. Learn it in and out. Because remember, reciprocity is the exhalation and inhalation of a community. Okay, without reciprocity, the community doesn't breathe. It strangles, it chokes, and dies. You can't live on an inhale. That's why I had thanked the sister when her daughter pressed the button. I said, good, it gave me a chance to breathe. You know, because I'm okay, breathe in, brother. All right, next. You see, so you have to breathe. That's the metabolism. Reciprocity is the metabolism of the universe. And it's only through our metabolic actions that we're able to not only stay alive, but to grow. You see, and to detox from things that we don't need and to bring in nutrition that we do want and we do need. All right, that's been our sunrise devotion. You have a lot of equinox information here to build on and deal with, specific to this particular equinox and all equinox. Like I said, you probably won't get an equinox show out of me again, except for in this autumn, the fall equinox. I'll do a segment on. After that, you should understand that you create your own equinox. You establish your own timeline, your own calendar, your own new world order. You don't necessarily need to wait until the sun does a certain thing or the stars do a certain thing or the planets do a certain thing. You establish what the order is going to be. You didn't come here to be a slave to nature. You came here to evolve nature. And with that said, I will speak to you all tomorrow at 1 p.m. on community. And peace to all of you in the chat room. Sister Madeline, Sister Divine, Michelle, Haru Wajet, Sister Ma'at, Akili, Sister Marva, Brother Keith, and anyone else that I may have missed. I know there's a bunch of you guys in there. All right. Until such time. Peace.